During an episode of his podcast this past week, because apparently every Republican member of Congress has their own podcast these days, Republican Representative Dan Crenshaw actually laid into the election-denying pro-Trump Republicans in the House and Senate. Here is what Dan Crenshaw had to say about what actually happens behind closed doors in Washington, D.C. with the Republicans. He's out there spilling secrets, and here is what he said. It was always a lie. The whole thing was always a lie, and it was a lie meant to rile people up. I've talked about this ad nauseum. It really made me angry because I'm like, the promises you're making that you're going to challenge the Electoral College and overturn the election, there's not even a process for you to do that. It doesn't even exist. So I was like, what the hell are we doing? And I would tell that to people kind of behind closed doors too, especially a lot of the rabble-rousers like the political personalities, not even the politicians. They're like, yeah, we know that, but we just, people just need their last hurrah. Like, they just need to feel like we fought one last time. Trust me, it'll be fine. And I was like, no, it won't. That's not what people believe, and that's not what you're telling them. And maybe you're smart enough to know that, but so we have a lot of people in the political world that are just willing to say things they know aren't true. They know aren't true. It's a huge manipulation, he concluded with. Wow. That's a lot to take in. Now, if this story is true, right? And again, Dan Crenshaw told this on his podcast called Hold These Truths. If he's telling the truth, that this is in fact what transpires behind the scenes in Washington, D.C., and what transpired prior to January 6th, then I applaud him for that, right? If this is actually what you're saying and doing, then good on you, right? I mean, give credit where credit is due. I don't like you. I don't support any of your policies. But if you're fighting back against these idiots in your own party who are saying something that happened that we know didn't happen, then good. And he's also right. Like, there's literally no legal process to actually overturn the results of an election. That's not a thing. And I'm glad that he said that. Because it's about time we heard a Republican say that, because even if he's not saying it behind closed doors, he did say it on his podcast, so people got to hear it. Now, here's what's interesting to me. A year ago, we and plenty of other people, the media out there, everybody was talking about Dan Crenshaw constantly. Crenshaw was, in fact, a rising star in the Republican Party. I was having talks with people, not on the air, but saying to them, like, look, I think Dan Crenshaw is probably going to be their nominee in 2024. And he scares me because he's a very competent Republican. Competent to do bad things, but he's competent, he's smart, he's got the military background. He puts out those videos of him basically coming in like an Avenger. He knows how to work a crowd. But in the year since then, Crenshaw's fallen out of favor for this specific reason, because he doesn't fall in line with the election deniers. So the MAGA crowd has basically pushed Crenshaw out, killing his prospects of running in 2024. But that is, of course, why Crenshaw is out there letting people know, hey, they're lying to you. This didn't happen. It literally can't even happen, because he's trying to bring the party back to normalcy, or what we consider normal for the horrible Republican Party. Because if he cannot bring them back to that so-called normalcy, he doesn't have a future in that party, because he's already on record not believing the lies. But if he can get the people to understand that they're lies and come back to the normalcy, he's the guy. So there's a lot on the line with Dan Crenshaw. I see what he's doing here, and I hope you do too. He is trying to bring the Republican Party back, much like Mike Pence is, like, hey, let's just be horrible with our legislation instead of horrible with conspiracy theories. Still horrible, but not insane. That's what Crenshaw is. That's what Mike Pence is. Horrible people with terrible policies, but they're not crazy. And they have to wrestle control of the Republican Party away from the crazies, or else guys like Crenshaw don't have a future in it. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share, but again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.